Peace, what's going down? It's DJ Penguin, and I posted videos in the past about producers devaluing their work and pretty much falling victim to this culture of artists, labels, and managers and so forth expecting free beats from us. Today I have a theory, and I want to know what you think about it as to why this is the case. Now, I received a dumbass tweet recently from, I guess it's a rapper, basically saying he doesn't ever want to pay for beats until he writes a song that quote-unquote blows up. Now, as a professional producer, beats are my livelihood, they're my product. And I look at that mentality as analogous to going to the grocery store and saying, I'm not going to pay for these groceries right now, but if in a year I win America's Top Chef or whatever that show is, then I'll pay for the groceries. Or buying a car and saying, I'm not paying for this car unless I get a NASCAR contract as a result of me driving this car. I'm not paying for it. I shouldn't have to pay for this car. It's this mentality that the product and the work and the raw materials that go into that product don't matter unless the person using the product gets these exceptional results. So when a rapper says, I'm not going to pay for that beat unless I write a hit to it, what they're saying is they're not going to pay for the beat. Because how likely is it that one of their songs blows up? Probably 1 in a million. The problem is they don't see the value in the product. They see the value in some result that's entirely dependent on them, to be honest with you. If the beat's good, the beat's good. That doesn't guarantee that a song's gonna be a hit. You gotta put a lot of work in. You gotta write the right song, write the right hook, market it in the right way, shoot a video, that kind of thing. You have to invest money at some point. So logically, that whole mentality of I'm not paying for the beat unless the song blows up, it doesn't make sense on any level. But what's more disturbing than rappers wanting to exploit us producers with this ugly psychology is that a lot of us producers accept that psychology as fair or reasonable. Okay, cool, well, you know, if I give him some beats, maybe he'll blow up. Maybe he'll sell 1 million copies and then he'll pay me my $150 lease price. And I wonder why we are so willing to be exploited and victimized by the greed of others. Why are we willing to give away beats for free left and right while we watch the artists that use our beats build up their own careers and buy MCM belts and Jordans and weed and cars and houses? And here's where my theory comes in. And I've come up with this theory. I wanted to see what you thought about it. You know, leave a comment. I'm not sure if I'm onto something or if I'm way off. But go back to the analogy where I said asking for a free beat and saying you're only going to pay for it if your song blows up is like going to the grocery store and saying I'm not going to pay for these groceries unless I win Top Chef. Now think about products at a grocery store. You need raw materials, so there are all these costs in agriculture. You need to ship the products, so there are all these shipping costs. You need to preserve the products, so there are all these refrigeration costs. If we're not talking about produce, we're talking about, say, you know, a box of flour or something. There are costs to make the box, and you know there's a factory in which this all happens, and you have to pay workers to do this. Now with production, nowadays a lot of artists, a lot of producers have no overhead because they're downloading the software for free. They already have the laptop that they're using for school or for watching Netflix or whatever, so they don't see that as an expense. A lot of them are just using the mouse to program. A lot of them are just downloading either free VSTs or they're illegally downloading VSTs, not paying a cent. So they're just making beats, and maybe the beats are super dope, but because they didn't actually invest anything but their time in the creation of those beats, maybe they don't see the value. Because 20 years ago, when you were a producer and you had to spend $3,000 on a keyboard, $2,000 on the MPC, another $1,000 on a sequencer, another $1,000 on some racks and some effects, and $100 on a board, you were operating at a loss. So you were acutely aware of how much money you invested in your product. You were aware of all the costs that went into making those beats. And then on top of that, you were aware of the labor, because making beats was a much longer, more arduous process. So back then, I don't think producers were as willing to just give away 100 beats for free or sell, you know, 200 beat leases for $3.99 on SoundCloud or whatever the case is. Am I onto something? Is that part of it? If that's part of it, then maybe that's a mentality that we can all tackle as a community of producers who are concerned about professionalism and sustainability in the production world. But it's something to consider. I don't know. Maybe I'm way off. You tell me.